Alrighty, this is the garden this year. Got a lot of weeds, just got back from Mexico yesterday. Got some work to do. Got a little dry in some areas. These are our tomatoes. Hopefully they still have their tags so I remember the varieties. Alright, yeah, so we got Beefmaster tomatoes here. These are supposed to be real big ones. They're blooming nicely. And then I believe, can't remember. We have some other round tomatoes here. And some Romas somewhere in here. Oh, these are our Romas right here, looks like. And then we had some cherry tomatoes over there on the end. And these are our marigolds. This is what happens when you put too much nitrogen on them. When they're first growing, then they just grow up without blooming. They're about 2 feet tall now. Not a single bloom. This one from the same seed didn't get as much fertilizer and it's blooming nicely. Those are also the same seed, got too much fertilizer. We'll be transplanting those soon because they're blocking our chilies there. Got bell peppers and jalapenos down there. And we got our zinnias starting to bloom here on the end, as well as our geraniums. Got our strawberries. Strawberry harvest is about done, but we still got a few more in there. Probably harvested about 10 pounds or so. And we got our cucumbers down here, and you could trellis for. So they can grow up instead of over the edge like they did last year. And we got sunflowers just coming in here and towering. It looks like they're starting to get buds up top a little bit, but overall, yes, they did get lots of nitrogen. Same here with these raspberries. We picked a bunch of raspberries, probably a couple pounds. They just started coming on, coming ripe last week. They started blooming or started coming on probably about 3 weeks ago. But yeah, I might have fertilized them a little bit too much because there's not very many coming on up here. There's a lot more down low. But these I think are a different variety. They got mixed in here. But I'm considering topping these to see if last minute they can get some more on there. But we do have some growing on like this and all that. It's not our strongest crop of raspberries this year. We got a ton of nutsedge over here. We'll get that sprayed today. Here are our black raspberries. I don't know how they're supposed to be growing, but they are growing. Not looking very good though. We got our onions in here. These I think were Spanish onions if I remember correctly. It's kind of hard to tell in there. But they got nutsedge and weeds growing around them. We'll get taken out today. But these flowering here are blackberries. We got a couple last year when we planted these. But this year it looks like we're really going to get lots. I also need to get trellises on these. I'm a little late for that, but we'll get them on hopefully this week. Yeah, it's just loaded with buds, so it's looking amazing. Been heavily fertilizing out here, so hopefully we get a good crop of everything. We'll come back here, we got more sunflowers coming up. These are our potatoes that have lots of weeds in between, but they are flowering now. They've been flowering for a couple weeks now, off and on, different plants. They took probably about a month to come up. We planted them early April, but we planted them significantly deeper this year than normally. Probably about 8 inches deep, which I think is actually where they're supposed to be getting planted. So we'll see. Hopefully they grow well. Let me get some big potatoes. I believe these are red potatoes over here. And then we have some Yukon Gold over here. So none of them are really supposed to get that big, but hopefully they'll get bigger in previous years. I'm just noticing now there's this other plant. Looks like a potato plant, but it's got these little fruits on it. I almost want to say it's like a cross with a tomato. I'm not sure. If you've ever seen this, let me know. It's interesting. Yeah, so we'll come in here and get this weeded. There's a lot of bugs out here. I haven't sprayed for bugs out here at all yet this year, mainly because of my bees. I don't want any of them to die because the hive is growing really nicely. But we may have to out here. At least just on the ground a little bit. We've had a lot of spiders which help eat all the bad bugs. Most spiders don't eat the plants, so that's pretty helpful. It's also kind of expensive to spray. Alright, we'll come back here. We got our irises down here. They finished blooming probably about 3-4 weeks ago. And our green beans are really getting overtaken by weeds in here. But they're starting to get flowers on here. See, these are green bean flowers right in here. Hopefully they produce well this year. Really banking on it. Got some other potatoes coming up in the middle here. Our corn is starting to tassel a little short. They're only about 3-4 feet, probably about 4 feet tall. Usually like to get them a little taller, especially with how heavily I've been fertilizing. But you can see I thinned them out a ton, but yeah, they're still way too thick in there. They should be about 8 inches, sometimes even 12 inches apart. That can affect when they tassel. They'll tassel shorter if they're too close, or if they aren't getting enough water, or not enough nutrients, because they're very heavy feeders and they need a ton of water, especially after they tassel. They need about 1 inch every 3 days. So we got these sprinklers going on every other day for about 2 hours, which is probably why the chilies aren't looking as good. But we'll try to adjust that area. Yeah, so we need a weed in here, and we'll try thinning a little bit more in this corn, but I'm not super confident it'll make a huge difference since they're already starting to tassel. But hopefully it'll help the ears be big. See, we got some corn ears slowly coming on here. But if they're planted too close or not getting enough water, they won't have as many ears per stalk. Usually like to see 3 to 4 per stalk, but many times there can just be 1 or 2. If it's not getting enough water, or if they're too close. I always have a constant problem with putting them too close. So the last couple of years the crop hasn't been great, and they've stayed kind of small as well. But hopefully we can thin it out before it becomes too much of a problem. This year's, I believe, a dogwood bush or something like that, but it's just taken over. I got it for free from some Arbor Day thing, but I sprayed some killer on it. That's why some of the leaves are dying, but obviously it wasn't enough. I'll have to cut it down. Just stump killer on it. Yeah, see, these ones are even shorter than those over there. We need to get these thinned out and get the weeds taken out as well. This is new O. Henry peach tree. Just planted a couple weeks ago. It's growing good. And we got our butternut squash with lots of weeds. We'll get taken out here soon. And our zucchini. And you can kind of see on the corn over here on the end, it's about 1 foot or 2 shorter than this corn over here. They were all planted at the same time, but what happened is the sprinkler over there, it wasn't rotating correctly, because we just have these rotor sprinklers. And I used to do drip lines for a very short period, but those were kind of hard to maintain, get enough water on them. But anyway, the rotor sprinkler was broken, so it was only just spraying 1/2 of the garden. We couldn't get it just to come over. Once I finally replaced that, then all this started greening up and growing real quick. But yeah, this was all like much shorter than that over there for a long time. Got a ton of peaches. This is our first year of peaches on this. Usually, if you want the tree to really grow good, even the first couple years, even 3 years, I'd take all the peaches off. We decided to leave these ones on and see how they do. They should be thinned as well. Generally with thinning them, you want to thin them when they're a little bit smaller. We can still do a little bit of thinning now, but I wouldn't do much. But it's mainly when you first start seeing that little peach, kind of like this, or just a tad bigger than this, is when you'll want to start thinning. You want to have it about this far apart on the branch. So these might be a little close, but leave them for now. But if they're on separate branches like this, you can leave them on like that. That's fine. There, you just want to make sure we get big peaches instead of a bunch of little ones, because little ones are hard to work with. Yeah, we'll move over here. All of our lettuce is kind of growing out of hand. This is our romaine, but it's not going to taste very good. It's just getting super leggy, so we'll need to cut that down. We got our leafy lettuce in here that we've cut down several times. It's coming back in nicely. The spinach, I might try to replant some, but most of it kind of died out after cutting it several times. This is what happens when you leave it to go super tall. It just starts going to seed and towering. Yeah, our peas here. Wanted to get a trellis on them this year, but never got around to it. But we still have plenty of peas. Gotta get them picked. Got more zinnias over here. Kind of close to our carrots. Our carrots are still in here. They're looking pretty nice. It's hard to tell them there. I think got a few months ago. We got our beets. Got a little fungus on them. That's why the leaves are not looking so great, but we're recovering from it. And we got our grapes up there. We don't really do much with our grapes. A lot of them just end up getting wasted. But it looks like they have a significant iron or nitrogen deficiency. So we'll want to get some sulfur-based heavy iron nitrogen fertilizer on those. That's why the leaves are kind of light colored. We got our asparagus over here. It's like the second year, but we haven't really gotten much. It still gets kind of bushy because this is the asparagus right here. Usually I believe you're supposed to cover them up, water them heavily, but I haven't really been doing that. We got our watermelon, but we never really get much watermelon. We did one year, many years ago, but yeah, it's hard to get watermelon around here in Idaho. But I had some extra seeds, so I planted them in there. We'll see what they do. Probably not far enough along to get melons before they freeze, but yeah, let's garden. Get this water turned back on here. Just installed this rock here. It's super nice, but it's a ton of work. It took about a yard and a half of rock. Yeah, so we got our giant radishes in here. They get much bigger when it's warm and when you thin them. Yeah, see, we got giant radishes. They're huge. Got bunching onions in there. Another marigold. Then our cabbage starting to get heads in here. Just harvested one of our broccoli. Got more broccoli coming in here. It's growing real nice. The plants got really big for like a couple of months before we even saw broccoli coming on. I think the main thing was the watering, but they also just, I think, get big before. I forgot what variety this is, but it's much better than the last variety I tried. Last Friday I got tons of little broccolis on it and got super tall, but never really produced very well. Got tons of bugs. This one seems to be doing real well. Once again, there are our bees. Their new honey super on top. We just put in queen excluder. Hopefully we'll get some nice honey come out of that.